Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about being spontaneous and creative and finding that way and that place to be able to do something different and just getting back to the basics of photography. So stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back. So if you're listening on the podcast, whether you're listening on the video for YouTube, I thank you both for coming back to either one of the platforms. I appreciate that. I appreciate you and taking the time to do that. And time is just the greatest commodity. So I want to talk to you guys about a film class for photography. So a friend of mine was doing a class on film photography. And I'm 100% digital. I mean, my first film camera was back 23 years ago. It was a Minolta. My son was in the hospital, so I bought something to take pictures while he was in the hospital. So now I've transitioned into 100% self-proclaimed Sony ambassador. I'm filming on the Sony A6600. I have two of the A4s, one of the Sony R4, and I love everything about them. And it's just, being digital and having all the G Master lenses, that's all wonderful. But you feel like sometimes when you're birthed into photography, whatever way you decide to come in, whether you've had a camera in your hand all of your life or just now getting into photography and digital photography. So my two friends were doing a film class, and it was just bare bones, grassroots film. Put film in a camera and just do it for the love of photography. So I was asked, why am I going to go? And first of all, I went because my friends were doing it. So I want to support what they do and what they're involved with. And I feel like that's what a community should do. I have no interest in going back to film. I have no interest in shooting film for my weddings. It's just everything is digital. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and support them, and I'm going to go and be part of what they're doing and see what other people show up. Not treating it like a network thing, but just go there. So I literally was amazed at the turnout of this event. Great turnout, a good amount of people that were there, and it was just grassroots film cameras, Pentax and all these other cameras like you see like in pictures, or you look at Ansel Adams and what he photographed with, and what I loved about it was you saw the progression of photography and bodies and lenses. So I don't have a film camera, so I didn't bring my digital camera. I just went because the foundations and the fundamentals of photography is the same, whether it's digital or film. Rule of thirds, composition, exposure triangle, composition, aperture, and ISO. So all of the fundamentals are still the same regardless. So I went with a clean slate, completely blind, just wanted to, see what was all about and see how, see what it was all about. I just wanted to kind of get involved, and wow, I was intrigued by the cameras that they had and every level of photography. Even a lot of digital shooters were there, but they had a film camera. I'm like, I'm going to go. So I went. Loved it. They had some shooting time at the end, so you got a free roll of film at the end. They actually had a lab, in a flash lab that was there also talking about film and film photography and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So it was really, really cool to meet all these extra people. So long story short, during the practice and walking around, we went into a separate room, and there was a cool vibe inside of the room over at Gasoline Alley in Massachusetts. A really cool vibe inside of there. There's a couple of people, so it wasn't like, there was a couple of tube lights and a couple of LED lights that would kind of add to the element, but wow, I have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of digital equipment. And I could not figure out how to load a roll of film. It was so embarrassing that you have this, six-figure business and you're trying to show all this stuff, and all of a sudden you're looking at, oh my God, I don't even know how to look. So I fell in love with it. I was intrigued. I thought it was really cool. And what do you mean there's no preview? What do you mean there's no LCD on the back? And I know that, but it's like really, really weird. Like the thing I learned the most about it is you have to think selective shots. You have to be really conscious of like foundational, fundamental photography. And it really had to dredge up like my thought patterns, like, relearning kind of things like that. So I had no camera. I'm watching everybody else, and somebody else had a Pentax that they bought for $150. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go buy one. I come home from the thing, I'm Googling, looking on eBay to try and find the Pentax, ME or something like that. And I couldn't find anything. And then I found some, but they were $300. So I'm like, you know what? Do I really need it? So I'm at home, I'm going to bed. I get up, I'm in the middle of the night, I'm tossing and turning, and I'm looking around. I was like, I have a film camera above, what's that camera I have display like in my office, off to the shelf, up to the side over here. And I had to say, I wonder if it works. I came downstairs 6 o'clock in the morning. I take this camera off of the shelf, and it is the Pentax K1000. Very, very basic. It's got shutter, it's got exposure, it's got ISO, which is ASO. I learned that also. How many pictures in a thing? Very, very basic when it comes to that. So I didn't have a battery, so I put a battery inside of the bottom, and it gives you the light meter on the inside, so it helps you kind of adjust the shutter or 50 millimeter. So I'm like, oh, this is really cool. So I put the roll of film in. And then I decided I was going to walk around, my town and take some pictures with just like no LCD, no zoom, no light meter, no live view. Like, oh my God, I had to, you're looking through the viewfinder now and you're finding out, and it was really, really cool and intriguing that it just kind of like lit that fire of that bug inside of me again for like photography and the love of photography and the roots and the foundation of photography. So now I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take this film camera. I'm just got 36 exposure, and I'm using expired film. So expired films means you don't know what kind of image you're going to get out of it because it's past its due date. So it's going to be really cool kind of artifacts you get inside of that. So I'm looking forward to that. So I decided to walk around and just do some pictures in the snow and pictures of old buildings and just, see what it was going to look like. So I just wanted to encourage you to go back to the basics. Go back to, if you only have digital cameras, challenge yourself. Here's what I would say. Put all of the lenses that you have, put it on a piece of paper, put it in a hat, and challenge yourself that whatever body you have, you're only going to pick one lens from the hat. And whatever lens comes out, that's what you have to shoot with. For me, the film camera, it limits me to thinking and be more selective with my shots and my composition because there's no spray and pray mentality kind of thing like that. So I fell in love with it. I'm looking forward to seeing what the pictures are going to look like. But it was really, really cool to just have the K1000 in my hand. It's a beefy camera. It's got some weight to it. It's actually made of metal, not like the cameras that are made nowadays. And just, that actual loading of the thing. And so looking through here and finding out, take the lens cap off, looking at what my shutter speed is. I'm a little bit too bright. So now I got to and oh my God, and manual focus. There's no autofocus in this thing. So that's even crazier to even do that. So I have glasses on. So there's a challenge to see what you see through the lens and what's in focus. So it was really, really cool to be able to do something like that. So let me encourage you. Let me challenge you. Pick up a film camera. Go back to the grassroots and foundation of photography 101 and just rebirth the love of capturing moments and taking pictures and stuff like that. If you've only got digital film, digital cameras, challenge yourself to just one lens. Whatever comes out, 70 to 200, that's what you're going for a 1 hour walk for. Go for a walk. Go out in your backyard. And it's going to rebirth a lot of the creativity that you have because now you're being forced to think more on composition. Like, well, I shot with a 50 millimeter today. Well, I couldn't get as much in the frame that I wanted, so I had to find out, I had to walk a good 30, 40 feet back just to get the bridge that I wanted to photograph. So there's limitations in that. So in the limitations, how creative can you be? So let me encourage you, go back to the grassroots, go back to the foundations of photography, and just challenge yourself. And I feel like by me challenging myself, just to re-spark the creativity in me, it'll make me a better photographer in the future. So let me encourage you, go back to the basics and just get simplified with just recreating that spark of photography in your life. So thank you guys for coming back to the channel, or if you're listening onto the podcast, listen for the next one. I thank you for taking the time to do that. If you're listening through the video on YouTube, or if you're listening to the audio on podcast, I thank you very much for coming that. So if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and remember to smile more, because it sure does hurt less. Peace.